Greetings. My name is Luna. I am in my 40s and I have lately wed my spouse, Tom. Tom has a son, Alex, from a prior marriage who is in his early 20s. Alex is an astute and courteous young man who has relocated with us to complete his education, and he has swiftly integrated into our blended family. Adapting to this new life is often challenging, although we have gradually succeeded in strengthening our bonds. Today, I wish to recount a cherished narrative, one of a day intended to be ordinary that became indelible. On a bright Saturday morning, Tom departed early for a weekend work trip, leaving Alex and myself alone for the ensuing days. I played my favorite playlist and chose to complete several household tasks. Sunlight streamed through the windows, creating a nice ambiance, making it an ideal day for organization. I selected a casual ensemble, a lightweight tank top and a miniskirt, suitable for ease of movement and comfort throughout a day of cleaning. I was aware that Alex was at home, but he always slumbered late on weekends, so I assumed I had several hours before encountering him singing to the music. I navigated the living room, dusting the shelves and cleaning the surfaces, oblivious to the fact that I was under observation. Unexpectedly, I sensed a presence behind me. I turned and discovered Alex positioned at the entrance of the room, leaning against the doorframe. He observed me with an expression I had not previously encountered, a nearly inquisitive, astonished demeanor. I offered him a cordial grin, dismissing the slight self-consciousness that emerged. "Greetings, Alex." I spoke with a cheery tone. He blinked, as though reorienting himself to reality, and ultimately managed a faint smile. In the morning, he responded. However, his gaze lingered longer than customary, surveying the room before returning to me. I realized that he had something to express, yet he stayed mute, merely observing while I resumed my tasks. I sensed his attention tracking me, though I could not ascertain the reasons. I experienced a fluttering sensation in my abdomen. The tranquility of the house and the gentle morning light created an atmosphere that felt distinct, as if we were inhabiting a secluded realm exclusively ours while I dusted the upper shelves. I observed that Alex had approached slightly, his attention directed at me as if he were perceiving me for the first time. I sensed my cheeks flush beneath his scrutiny, although I maintained a casual tone, remarking on little matters to alleviate the silence between us. We conversed about his courses and weekend intentions, but he appeared preoccupied. His reply is contemplative yet succinct. While adjusting a picture frame on a high shelf, my skirt ascended slightly as I extended my reach. I turned my head and observed his eyes expand, his stare falling before he swiftly averted his attention. I experienced an unexpected thrill at his reply, a sensation I could not dismiss. At that moment, I underestimated my balance and faltered briefly before regaining my stability. His firm hands on my waist assisted me in returning to an upright position. His touch was both delicate and firm. When I gazed up at him, our eyes connected, creating a moment of mutual surprise and recognition. His fingers remained on my waist for a little longer, and his stare exuded a warmth that was distinctly unfamiliar. "It is not an issue." He spoke softly, his voice slightly tremulous, suggesting he felt as unstable as I did. The atmosphere between us was electrified, and I could not dispel the notion that this morning had transcended its simplicity. A bond had developed in that tranquil house, and it seemed we both recognized it, sensing the unarticulated tension in the air between us. Throughout the morning, he remained near, assisting me with the cleaning, his hand intermittently grazing mine. Every subtle touch and inadvertent gaze appeared to amplify the unarticulated energy binding us. Ultimately, we completed the organization and I proposed that we take a respite. We positioned ourselves on the couch, consuming iced coffee, both of us somewhat more subdued than normal, possibly still contemplating the change that had occurred between us. I looked at him, noticing his focus upon me, gentle yet unwavering, as if he were attempting to convey something beyond verbal expression. "Do you relish these leisurely Saturdays?" I inquired, disrupting the silence with a soft smile. "SM aims to alleviate the tension I experience," he responded, his tone cordial. "It is pleasant to spend time together in this manner." His comments caused my heart to momentarily falter. His gaze towards me exhibited a sensitivity and sincerity that beyond typical familial connections. I smiled at him, sensing the subtle intensity of his stare as his words resonated in the atmosphere. The silence between us was not uncomfortable. It was profound and intimate, as if we had been entrusted with a secret exclusive to us. I responded gently, "It is pleasant to have some companionship. This residence may occasionally seem excessively large." I had not comprehended the veracity of that statement until now, in the absence of Tom. The typical buzz of activity was missing, creating an open space that Alex and I occupied in unforeseen manners. His gaze lingered on mine for a moment. Long I responded gently. He acknowledged, "You are correct. Today feels distinct." He appeared to hesitate, as if selecting his words with caution, although his demeanor softened as he proceeded. "It feels as though we are genuinely engaging with one another, rather than merely coexisting." The warmth of his voice elicited a flutter within me, causing my pulse to accelerate. In that moment, it was merely the two of us in alone, and it appeared as though the conventional barriers had diminished, allowing us to perceive one another in unprecedented ways. Each sip of coffee was a collective respite, and each glance ignited a subtle spark. At one moment, I reclined, placing my arm on the couch, and in doing so, my hand grazed his shoulder. The contact was delicate, inadvertent, yet it possessed a distinct intensity. I sensed him become motionless beside me, as if he were equally cognizant of it as I was. Our gazes intersected, and I detected a hint of mischief in my smile. "You are often not this silent." I jested in an attempt to alleviate the tension. However, I found it almost impossible to disregard the warmth of his proximity. "Have I ultimately left you without words?" He laughed softly, his eyes brightening. Perhaps he responded with a humorous tone, insufficiently concealing the underlying intensity. Or perhaps I am only perceiving you in a different light. Today, his words lingered in the atmosphere, and I sensed a warmth ascending in my cheeks. I intended to dismiss it with laughter, but instead, I only gazed at him, my pulse beating as I sought his eyes, discovering a tenderness that left me breathless. Compelled by an uncontrollable impulse, I reached over and secured a loose strand of hair behind my ear, an anxious habit I was unable to relinquish. Alex's gaze tracked the motion, and before I realized it, he extended his fingers, softly grazing mine as he clasped my hand briefly. We remained seated, his hand warm upon mine. Shifting the uncomplicated contact resembled an invitation, a tacit acknowledgement that we were entering uncharted territory. I experienced a thrill of anticipation, coupled with a profound sense of comfort. It seemed we were precisely where we were destined to be. "Luna," he murmured, his voice almost audible. His utterance of my name elicited a pleasure within me, compelling me to move closer, ensnared by the intimacy of the moment and the warmth shared between us. "Indeed, Alex," I responded, my voice gentle and imbued with the myriad unexpressed feelings I struggled to contain. He halted, his stare probing mine. I have been eager to convey this to you for some time. I was unaware of the way my heart raced under the intensity of his gaze, rendering it impossible to avert my eyes. I sensed the unarticulated feelings oscillating between us, and instinctively, I grasped his hand softly. "You may disclose any information to me." I spoke softly, my voice somewhat unsteady. He inhaled deeply. His gaze remained fixed on mine. "Your significance to me, Luna, above my ability to articulate. Witnessing you in this moment has illuminated the depth of my feelings." A gentle grin graced my lips as I sensed my heart expanding, my defenses dissipating. "I share your sentiment, Alex. This bond between us, I cannot disregard it." The words escaped before I could intervene, yet upon uttering them, I experienced an unusual relief, a kind of liberation. I could no longer refute the truth. He moved forward, his face within inches from mine, his hands firmly and warmly grasping mine. "I had desired proximity to you for an extended period," he muttered, his voice imbued with earnestness. "I wish for this moment to persist indefinitely." All elements appeared to align seamlessly. It seemed as though all barriers had vanished, revealing solely the authenticity of our emotions and the profound intensity that united us. I leaned in, my hand on his shoulder, my heart racing as our faces approached, and then tenderly, his lips met mine. The kiss was gentle, imbued with the unexpressed emotions we had both suppressed for an extended period. The kiss conveyed an understanding of shared experiences and the subtle, irrefutable bond that had developed between us. Alex's fingers clasped mine gently, as if reluctant to release their hold, and the solace of his touch anchored me, rendering the external world remote and insignificant. A tranquil silence enveloped us, each heartbeat in harmonious synchrony with the others. My palm descended to rest upon his, and I could perceive his pulse, steady and robust, beneath my fingertips. In that moment, I realized the depth of our mutual feelings, and yet everything felt organic, as if we were destined to converge in this serene zone we had established. He reached up slowly, his hand warm as it brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. The gesture was simple yet caring, and I leaned into his touch, feeling a warmth deeper than anything I had experienced in a long time. "Luna," he whispered, his voice imbued with a profound emotion that indicated he was equally overwhelmed by this connection. "Yes," I replied softly, meeting his gaze, my heart racing as I awaited his next words. "It feels like this has been waiting to happen for so long," he said, his tone gentle yet sincere. "I know it's complicated, and I don't want to rush anything, but I want you to understand how much I care for you and how significant you are to me." My heart expanded at his words, and I grasped his hand in reply, sensing the warmth of his palm against mine, anchoring me. "I share the same sentiment, Alex," I confessed, my voice scarcely above a whisper. I was unprepared for this, yet it feels entirely appropriate. As we remained in the gentle illumination of the living room, our eyes met in shared comprehension. An unspoken invitation appeared to transpire between us. My hand, still in Alex's, provided a soft squeeze as we rose together. Neither of us talked, yet all felt comprehended. With each stride along the hallway, the subtle excitement that had been brewing between us intensified as we approached the bedroom. The soft murmur of the evening outdoors receded into the background. My heart quickened as we approached the threshold, his grip firm in mine. This seemed like unfamiliar ground, although the reassurance of his presence alleviated any residual doubt. Alex's fingers glided over my arm, eliciting a pleasant quiver within me. The bedroom acquired a novel, cozy ambiance, illuminated by the streetlights outside. I experienced a surge of warmth as he tenderly directed me to sit on the bed's edge. His stare was both gentle and electrifying, meticulously tracing each contour of my face as if committing it to memory. He knelt alongside me, his gaze fixed on mine. "Luna, I have never experienced such feelings before toward anyone." My heartbeat accelerated as I placed my hand on his cheek, sensing the warmth of his skin beneath my palm. It took me by surprise momentarily. He pressed his forehead to mine, his breath gentle against my skin, and I sensed the profound connection between us, as if every prior moment had culminated in this serene, ideal setting. Silently, he leaned in, and our lips connected in a kiss that was languid and imbued with emotion. His hands grasped my waist, firm and warm, as I drew him nearer. The external world beyond the bedroom became non-existent. It was just us together in that moment, just as Alex and I were caught in the moment, enveloped in the warmth of each other's touch. We both suddenly froze. The sound of the front door unlocking shattered the quiet, and my heart jumped into my throat. My husband was home. Panic flashed in Alex's eyes as we quickly pulled away from each other, hands shaking as we tried to compose ourselves. I straightened my hair and smoothed out my clothes, glancing around the room as if looking for a way to erase the evidence of the intimacy that had filled the space. Just moments before, I gestured for Alex to step back as I hurried to open the bedroom door, trying to appear calm even though my pulse was racing. My husband's footsteps echoed through the hallway, getting louder as he approached, and I took a deep breath, hoping he wouldn't sense the tension in the air. He called my name, his voice cheerful, oblivious to the turmoil that had just unfolded. I managed a steady reply, meeting him in the hallway, where he greeted me with a smile and a quick hug, none the wiser. As I glanced over his shoulder, I caught Alex's eye. He'd retreated to the living room, looking just as unsettled as I felt the moment had passed. The connection we'd shared was replaced by the urgency of secrecy. My spouse discussed his day, entirely oblivious to what had nearly occurred. I endeavored to react authentically, although my thoughts persistently reverted to the instances I had just experienced with Alex, times that prompted me to reevaluate my self-perception. As my husband entered the kitchen, I discreetly approached Alex, who remained tight by the doorway. We shared a brief glance, recognizing the profound unspoken understanding between us, as potent as we had always anticipated. We must exercise caution, since the boundaries we nearly transgressed could significantly alter things if we are not vigilant in the coming days. The gravity of that evening weighed hard on my mind. I had a tumult of emotions, excitement, bewilderment, and guilt, each vying for dominance. Although Alex and I maintained our distance, the unarticulated bond between us persisted. It had merely subdued, concealed beneath the surface one afternoon. While I was organizing the house, Alex approached me with a solemn yet composed expression. He paused briefly before articulating his thoughts. With an unexpected softness, I believe we merely were ensnared in a moment. We both required something, although perhaps it need not be this way. I affirmed his words, providing me with stability. "You are correct," I replied softly. "I value you, Alex, but I am unwilling to jeopardize the family we both cherish. It may be prudent to save this as a cherished memory and concentrate on progressing ahead." He smiled, relief evident in his eyes. There existed no tension nor regret, only a shared comprehension. At that moment, I realized we had made the correct decision. We had both discovered something unique in one another, a rare intimacy that possibly did not require further development. Eventually, circumstances reverted to their previous state. We exchanged smiles, laughter, and dialogue, however, with an added dimension of respect. Our bond persisted, intricately integrated into the fabric of our family, fostering a sense of safety and support. As time progressed, I reflected on that chapter with appreciation, not for what might have occurred, but for the insights it provided into my identity, interpersonal connections, and the beauty inherent in the relationships we cultivate. The incident fostered a tighter bond within our family and instilled in me a fresh appreciation for the love and support that enveloped me.